Last year, we saw players like DJ Moore, Travis Etienne, and Nico Collins finally skyrocket and help fantasy teams the way we always hoped they would. So who's going to do it this year? I got 10 guys who have the potential. Now, if you're thinking it's May, how can you be drafting? Well, then you need to check out Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has best ball drafts going full swing right now, all the way up until the season. They have drafts ranging from $4 to $500 with prize pools ranging from $100,000 to $15 million. That's right, $15 million in their flagship Best Ball Mania 5. If you haven't tried Underdog Fantasy yet, this is the time to do it. Just make sure when you sign up, you use our promo code ENDGAME and take advantage of this special offer. They're going to give you a special pick plus up to $250 in bonus cash. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com, sign up using promo code ENDGAME, start drafting right now, and take advantage of this special offer. And let's start at running back with Bijan Robinson. Look, Bijan Robinson wasn't bad last year, but he certainly didn't live up to our expectations or the hype. And a lot of that had to do with one Arthur Smith, who really held him back. Not only because he gave Cordero Patterson touches and gave third-string tight ends goal line carries and sometimes used Tyler Algier like he was better than Bijan Robinson, but also because the Falcons' offense was just so bad last year. Well, thankfully, both of those have been fixed this year. We know Arthur Smith is gone. Hooray for that. But also they signed Kirk Cousins. This offense is finally going to be an NFL real-life offense. It's going to be a fantasy-friendly offense. And even if Kirk Cousins, something happens to him and he gets hurt, they also drafted Michael Penix Jr. with the number 8 pick, who's probably one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks in this draft right now. So even if it is the rookie, yes, it'll be a downgrade to the offense, but not a significant one. Whoever the quarterback is, it'll be better than Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke last year. Bijan Robinson finally set to be a workhorse running back. I said before he was drafted, I really think he has the type of talent to not only be a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver, I think he can actually be a 1,500-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver because he actually profiles as a workhorse running back who can handle a significant amount of carries with the receiving game to go with it. And if this is the year that happens, not only is he going to skyrocket in fantasy football, but the answer to the test is going to be, did you have Bijan Robinson or not? Now let's go to a couple of young wide receivers that haven't quite gotten off to the start we wanted. Let's start with Garrett Wilson on the Jets. Yes, he's gone over 1,000 yards each of his first 2 seasons, which is actually pretty remarkable when you got to think he's played the majority of his games with Zach Wilson. Obviously, last year we were very excited for him because we thought we were going to get a full year of Aaron Rodgers, and instead we got 4 snaps of Aaron Rodgers. But look, he's on track to play this year. He should be fine. Of course, gotta hope he stays healthy. We gotta assume he's going to stay healthy. And if he does, this is going to be by far the best quarterback Garrett Wilson has ever played with. Even if Aaron Rodgers is no longer vintage Aaron Rodgers, he's still way better than anybody else Garrett Wilson has had. Remember Garrett Wilson's rookie year when Joe Flacco came in, he actually had some very nice games. I don't see why he couldn't do the same thing with a healthy Aaron Rodgers all season long. This guy is an incredible talent. One of the most talented wide receiver prospects we've seen over the years. No reason to think, as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, we don't finally see Garrett Wilson skyrocket in 2024 and deliver on the potential we've all been waiting for. And the same could be said for third-year wide receiver Drake London. I talked about this Falcons offense when I talked about Bijan Robinson with Kirk Cousins. Obviously, it's going to help Bijan Robinson, but it's really going to help Drake London because this guy so far has had to play with Marcus Mariota, who was easily the worst quarterback that started NFL games in 2022. And then last year, he had to play with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, who also might have been the worst quarterbacks to start NFL games last year. I mean, this guy has had it worse than even Garrett Wilson so far. And let's not forget, he was drafted ahead of Garrett Wilson. Now, you can argue maybe he shouldn't have been, but the fact that he was shows what kind of a prospect he is. He's a very talented wide receiver. He's a great player. He's been good in the NFL so far. He just needs the right situation, and now we have it in Atlanta. Talked about it. No more Arthur Smith. No more Desmond Ridder. No more Taylor Heineke. We're going to get Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix Jr. Either way, it's an upgrade for Drake London. There's going to be lots to talk about Drake London this offseason. We're going to talk about him. All the channels are probably going to talk about him. He's going to be a trendy pick, but there's a good reason for it, and it's because he finally has a real QB in a real offense. Now let's go to a running back who's been pretty good, but I think this year he finally really busts out and becomes a league winner, kind of similar to what we saw with Rachaad White last year, and that is Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. In 2023, he finally took over this role. It looked like the Chiefs finally said, okay, you are our guy. Unfortunately, he was in a Chiefs offense that wasn't as good as we are used to. This was not the Chiefs offense in the years where it's just a fantasy football cheat code. They had no real pass catchers. I mean, Rashee Rice is fine for what he is. Travis Kelce didn't look quite as good. The offense just wasn't what we normally expect. But this year, it should be much better. Not only did they go out and sign Hollywood Brown, but then they traded up to get Xavier Worthy in the first round. Now, I know Rashee Rice may face some sort of suspension. He may miss some games. But still, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy are already more weapons than Patrick Mahomes had last year. And Patrick Mahomes isn't a guy that needs a ton of weapons. We could see this Chiefs offense once again be one of the most fantasy-friendly, one of the best offenses in the NFL, and that is going to benefit Isaiah Pacheco. And what I really liked about Pacheco last year, other than the fact that, yes, he took over the backfield, that's great, but he also was involved enough as a pass catcher. He'll catch enough passes to be fantasy viable. I think Isaiah Pacheco has the potential to be a top 5 running back this year and really skyrocket in 2024. Let's give tight ends some love, and I think Dalton Kincaid is ready to be one of those kind of surprise skyrocketing tight ends this year. When you look at this Bills offense, what has happened so far? Stephon Diggs, he's gone. They replaced him with Keon Coleman, who I didn't love as a prospect. I think he's fine in the right situation. And look, he's got Josh Allen. He's got this Bills offense. But they're talking about making him an X receiver, and I just don't think he's going to be good in that role. I think he needs to be more in a flanker type of role, but we'll see how that goes. But regardless, that's still not Stephon Diggs. Keon Coleman, a rookie, is not Stephon Diggs. The only other receiver they added was Curtis Samuel. We could see Dalton Kincaid legit be one of the top target getters in this offense. And yes, they're going to be more run heavy than they were in the past because we saw that in the second half last year with new offensive coordinator Joe Brady. More run heavy, less pass heavy, but they still have to throw the ball. He still has Josh Allen. They're going to get plenty of chances in the red zone. He's going to score touchdowns. So Dalton Kincaid, I think, can really be a stud tight end in fantasy this year. One of my favorite kind of not too early, but not too late tight ends to draft. And let's give quarterback some love with Anthony Richardson. Now, I talked up Anthony Richardson last year, and before he got hurt, he was skyrocketing. But of course, he did get hurt. He missed most of the season, so people are still a little worried. And of course, people think, oh, you got hurt one year, that means you're going to get hurt every year. Look, he's a running quarterback. Sure, it puts him at more risk. He could get injured again, but he's a big guy. He's not a guy I worry about like necessarily missing games. And look what he was doing before that injury. He was absolutely dominating fantasy football because of that rushing upside, because of those rushing touchdowns. And now he got a new weapon with A.D. Mitchell. Now, sure, Mitchell's a rookie and it's going to take him some time, but still, it's a new weapon for him. He's also going to have Jonathan Taylor healthy for the entire season. It's a good offense. He's got Shane Steichen, who's a great offensive mind. Not only that, Shane Steichen was the guy that took Jalen Hurts to an MVP level. He knows how to work with these rushing quarterbacks. He knows how to get the most out of them. Anthony Richardson legit has top 5 upside at the QB position, and a lot of times he goes later than that in drafts, usually the QB 6, QB 7, but I think in 2024, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to absolutely skyrocket. As will Terry McLaurin, who finally, hopefully, probably has a real quarterback. This is another wide receiver. It just feels like he's being wasted year after year. The last 3 years, he's had to play with Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, who I already talked about, Sam Howell, who's not even a starting quarterback anymore. Just horrible quarterback play, horrible offensive schemes. Well, they got a new offensive coordinator in there, the new head coach, of course, but a new offensive coordinator. And, of course, they drafted Jaden Daniels. And, look, you say he's a rookie. You can say you're worried about him. That's fine. Sometimes rookies miss. Sometimes they hit. But what I like about Jaden Daniels for Terry McLaurin specifically is that he's accurate, and he's accurate deep. That's huge. He's not a guy, you don't have to worry about Terry McLaurin behind the defense and the ball is underthrown or the ball is 10 yards over his head. Jaden Daniels is an accurate deep passer, and that's going to be great for Terry McLaurin. So many just fantasy points left on the football field with terrible QB play, missing him on wide open throws that should be long touchdowns. We're not going to have that this year. And Terry McLaurin is still only 28 years old. It feels like he's been in the league forever, but he's still only 28, which is still in a wide receiver's prime. So no reason to worry like, well, maybe he's lost a step. He should still be good this year. And finally, with Jaden Daniels, we should see that ceiling we've been wanting to see pretty much his entire career. Now, if I haven't talked about enough Falcons, I'm going to talk about another one, and that is Kyle Pitts. And I get it. If you're like, nope, I'm done with Kyle Pitts, I don't care, I'm fine with that. I totally understand. Look, I've been burned by this guy pretty much every year except his rookie year because I thought he was overhyped his rookie year. But now it feels like he's underhyped because nobody wants to draft this guy. And look, he gets the same benefits that Bijan Robinson and Drake London get. Let's not forget, when he was coming out of college, he was a generational prospect at tight end. He went over 1,000 yards as a rookie. Now, he only scored 1 touchdown, so when you look at fantasy-wise, it wasn't anything crazy. But there's not a lot of rookie tight ends that have gone over 1,000 yards. Sam Laporta didn't do it last year. Travis Kelce didn't do it. 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end is impressive. Obviously, year 2 was a down year. Then he had that knee injury. And then last year, we now heard reports that that knee probably wasn't ever 100%. Now entering year 4, he should be fully healthy. And look, tight ends take a while to break out. Look at David Njoku. Look at Evan Ingram. These guys took a while. Even Travis Kelce was 25 years old when he finally had 1,000 yards in the NFL. Kyle Pitts is still very young. He still has the potential to break out. Obviously, I'm very high on this Falcons offense for reasons, Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix to be exact. So I'm willing to gamble on Kyle Pitts, especially when you can usually get him outside the top 8 or 9 tight ends in your fantasy leagues. He has a chance to absolutely skyrocket and be an Evan Ingram or a David Njoku this year. And I think we could absolutely see Deontay Johnson skyrocket this year. If you haven't been paying attention, Deontay Johnson is no longer a Steeler. He's now a Carolina Panther. And look, last year, the Panthers offense, probably the worst offense in the NFL. Maybe the Jets. One of those 2 teams were the worst offenses in the NFL. And no, I don't think the Panthers are suddenly going to be a top 10 offense, but they're certainly going to be better. They brought in Dave Canales, who was the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, who just literally saved Baker Mayfield's career, kind of revived him. He's a QB guy. And Deontay Johnson is a great wide receiver. He can be a true number 1 wide receiver. And when you look at this Panthers passing game, you have Adam Thielen, who, let's not forget, for a portion of the season last year was dominating the fantasy off of pure volume. And then you have Xavier Leggett, who's a rookie, who's okay. I mean, he needs certain things. He's not a target guy. Jonathan Mingo, who I don't know if we're ever going to see Jonathan Mingo really be whatever he was expected to be. Deontay Johnson could be that Adam Thielen guy we saw early in the year last year, just getting by on extreme volume week after week. The difference between him and Adam Thielen, though, is the Panthers eventually said, okay, you're old. Let's move on from you. Let's start going other directions. Deontay Johnson is still in his prime. He's a true number 1 wide receiver. They will continue to give him that volume week after week all year long. Now, he doesn't have like crazy upside because he's not going to score double-digit touchdowns, but in your PPR leagues, he could certainly get close to 100 receptions and have a good amount of yardage. And if he does, based on the fact where he's being drafted, which in a lot of drafts is in the late single-digit rounds, he's going to absolutely be one of those guys that everybody's going to be kicking themselves that they didn't draft. And then finally, a running back I keep talking about is Javonte Williams. Now, we have gotten some questions like, what is the hype with Javonte Williams? And that's a fair question. I'm not hyped about Javonte Williams, but I think Javonte Williams can be good. Remember, when he was drafted as a prospect, no, he wasn't an elite prospect, but he was a good prospect. Had an okay rookie year. Of course, he was stuck splitting time with Melvin Gordon. Then in year 2, right when it looked like he was about to pull away and start to be the guy we wanted to see, he tore his ACL. Last year, of course, not a great year. First year back from ACL. Now he's year 2 from ACL, which we know that is the year where running backs get back to 100%, sometimes even better. And the Broncos have not done anything that scares me off of them at the running back position. Yes, they used a late round pick on Audric Estime, but not one of my favorite prospects, to put it mildly. Samaje Perine is an easy cut candidate after June 1st. They'll save like $3 million in cap space. Jaleel McLaughlin does not worry me at all. I think we see Javonte Williams be the workhorse running back in this offense. And look, this is not going to be a great offense. It'll be better because they did draft Bo Nix and added Troy Franklin to the mix, but it's still going to be probably not great, to be honest here. But just on volume alone, Javonte Williams, I think, will be a solid weekly RB2 with upside for more. And again, for a guy going outside the top 100 picks, if you get a solid every week RB2 with low-end RB1 upside, that is going to be fantastic in your fantasy drafts. So there's 10 players ready to finally skyrocket in 2024, but who are 10 players being insanely underrated? You can find out right here.